Good morning, Hapeville friends and neighbors, and those beyond who used to live here. It's 8:40 in the morning on, oh gosh, what's today? Friday? Thursday? Friday? Not even sure. This morning I'm actually taking a very informal walk. I was for myself in my own neighborhood, and I thought I'd bring you along. This is 524 Walnut Street. He just put in new grass and painted his house, and he even has these lovely little cranes out in the front, which I love because I grew up in Florida and I would see them all the time live. It's a beautiful morning. This is number 525. Number 534. Back in the 40s, I found evidence that there was a neighborhood store in this house. I'm guessing it might have been in this front part. But back then, before the advent of supermarkets, good morning, son. I love you, kiddo. I'm just taking a little walk. Before the advent of supermarkets, there were little stores in neighborhoods. So someone would have been able to walk from my house, which was built in 1920, right up the hill to this local store. It was run by a woman. I don't know her. I don't remember her name because I discovered this a couple of years ago and filed it away. This is number 535, and what I love about this is it has a little panel by the door that says established in 1920, which means this house was built the same year as the one that I live in. So it's 101 years old, but this one actually is used as an Airbnb, which is more and more common here in Hapeville. Good morning, John Hill. Good morning, Kim Firestone. This is number 539. That looks like maybe it was built in the 50s or 60s. The same with this one, number 541. Good morning.
Hey, man.
Number 541. Here is number 542. Every time Douglas and I walk by it, we're like, ooh, we could make that so cute. Any of these houses, if I had one of them, the first thing I would do is if it had paneling on it, I would take the paneling off. Good morning, Don. Good morning, John, Beverly. Y'all are up early. I usually am not up quite this early. We're coming up to Jackson Street and Walnut Street, and one thing that I love when I walk around and look at the houses here are the signs that take you back to like the 60s, let's say. This has been here forever. At some point in either the 50s or 60s, look at those, my husband told me there's a name for that when they go to a V like that, and I always forget. But it's very mid-century modern. And the frills across the frill metal work across the top. 50s and 60s. And look at, actually, somebody has an old Buick sitting there. That's a beautiful car. Another thing that I like that you'll find, I'll zoom in, are those. Remember going out back and hanging your laundry on those I want to say vinyl lines, but it was like wire with that rubbery stuff on the outside of it. But who uses that anymore? Nobody, unfortunately. Like every opportunity we had to leave our house and walk outside and get some fresh air, we've taken away, including putting your clothes on the line. This guy, at some point, it's been there a long time, I can tell, but I don't ever see them use it. There's a separate screened-in porch from his house, like a little party porch. Good morning, Richard. Another thing that I love to see on the old houses, Douglas does not like them because they block out the sun, and I totally get that, but I love the metal awnings on so many of these older houses that haven't been renovated yet. But this is the corner of Jackson Street and Walnut Street. Many moons ago, You go out to North Avenue, turn right, and the Quick Pick would be right there, which was a very popular place to get your meat, from what I understand. So this is Jackson and Walnut, and this is 3236 Jackson. That is 3240, I believe. And my friends Julio and Natalie live there. They are amazing artists, incredible artists. The things they create are so beautiful. They're woodworkers. And very soon I'm going to be focusing on them here on the Hapeville channel. There'll be a video that shows the artwork that they create in their house, and reminding people that local people, artwork created by locals is not stuck on cargo ships in ports. And so Douglas and I are going to be featuring local artists to remind folks that that's an option. Buy their art. You can just get it now. You don't have to wait months and months and months or worry if it's ever going to come. So this house is right at the end of the street. I don't see the number on it, but I love this house. Don says, I used to play on these roads. I lived on Dorsey Road. Did you? So Dorsey is that direction. Did you live... Oh, there's a man coming by. I always feel weird like filming when older people come by because they're like, what the hell is going on? This one is 3225. It's beautiful. Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Old and tired.
Old and tired. What's your name?
Doug Watts.
Doug Watts. I'm Dewey.
Dewey.
Nice to meet you. I'm actually walking around and showing the neighborhood to a lot of folks who grew up here in Hapeville and now don't live here anymore. So I do this, and they go on Facebook, and then sometimes they tell me, turn right, my old house is down there, turn left. And have you lived here your whole life?
Yeah, since 1947.
Since 1947, right here?
Yep.
In 3217. I'll be damned. Doug, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Lived here the whole time.
You went away and came back? Yeah. Did you graduate from Hapeville High School?
I quit.
You quit? Good for you, damn it. Who needs schooling?
I turned 17, I joined the Army.
Oh, at 17 you went in the Army. What year was that?
1964.
64. Vietnam? No, that was before Vietnam.
Before, yeah, but
yeah.
I never went to Vietnam.
Gotcha. You were done by then?
Well, I got out in 68, but Vietnam was really building up then. But
yes.
I had volunteered to go, but they wouldn't let me go.
Okay.
Security clearance.
Well, that's a good thing, and because here you are. Here you are. Wow, that is fascinating. Have you enjoyed being in Hapeville when you're here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's fantastic. You know what I wanted to ask you? Do you know, when I first moved here, I only moved here 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and I started volunteering at the train station museum up there and have researched about Ed Milton. Did he live down there on the right-hand side? Do you remember him?
No, I don't.
Ah, okay.
But my memory is gone.
How old are you, 72?
74.
I was close, 74. Wow, and there's Permelia. I think she's lived here a long time, too. Wow, you've been here since 47.
Yeah.
So that means your parents lived here.
Yeah.
Wow. Did they build the house?
They had, they had it built and they moved in August 15th, 1947.
August 15th, 1947.
I was
And
born on the 26th of August.
I'll be darned. What were your parents' names?
Jack Watts.
Jack Watts. Yeah.
Ruby Watts.
And what did Jack do for a living?
Worked for Western Union.
All right.
Technician.
Did you have a lot of brothers and sisters?
One brother, one sister.
Are they still with us?
Yes.
Oh, good. All three of you. How about that? You are a fit family.
My brother's 79.
Wow. And here you are in Hapeville holding down the fort. I'm so glad you came out here this morning. I see you're keeping the street clean.
Yeah, I tell you what.
Yeah.
I walk up and down the street once or twice a day, just picking up little trash.
Well, that is nice of you to do. I know a lot of cars come zipping through here. And it looks nice, though. I don't know if that's because of you, but there's no trash except for that little piece that you picked up. Now, you said Doug Watts?
Yeah.
It was a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know that my friends at home are going to be... Dave Barnett is watching. Did you ever know Betty Barnett? Did you ever meet her?
The name is very familiar.
Yeah, she was on council back in the 90s. She's 94 now. Yeah, wow, since 1947 right here. Looks great. When did you put that big window in the front? Was that there originally, or?
No.
I didn't think so.
My dad had that done
Your dad did that?
in the early 60s, I think.
Yeah, that's nice. Oh, and look at that. That was a big change for you.
Yeah.
At some point. That's a big house. I call those McMansions because they're just. I get more excited by houses like this and your house that someone can say this has been here since 1947.
Yeah.
That one I think has maybe been there since the 90s, early 2000. Who knows? Who used to live over there? Do you remember?
The Brennans.
The Brennans. I'll be darned.
They were an older couple. He worked for the railroad.
Did he? I feel like people down here either worked for the railroad, Ford, or Delta.
Right.
Those are the big ones. That's great. Good morning. Well, I appreciate your time. It's such a pleasure to meet you, Doug.
Take care.
All right. I'll see you around. Ooh. Yeah, that's Craig. That's what, well, you heard him. He said he left. He quit. He went into the military when he was 17. Okay, so I have to say that is one of my very favorite things that happens when I'm out and about walking. It happened yesterday as well. Don says, me and my dad walked up Lake Drive to the bus stop. He worked at the post office downtown Atlanta. The bus stop on Lake Drive. Cool. Was it at Lake Drive in Stewart? Lou Montgomery is here. Lou, did you just see, I just ran into a fellow named Doug Watts, 74 years old. And he's living in the house that his parents built. 1947, he said, and he was born August 26, 1947. Y'all, stuff like that just, how do you say it? Twist your knickers means it annoys you. It floats my boat. It's just the most amazing thing to meet people who have been in a place for so long. And I think that's a big, we're going to continue walking. I'm waxing philosophical, but I didn't have that. I was a 70s kid, born in 1968, grew up in the 70s, and I went to 13 different schools. And there's only 12 years of school if you don't count kindergarten, but 13 different schools, countless states. I've never lived in a building more than 5 years. We're coming up on 4 on Walnut Street. So Douglas and I were talking yesterday. Oh my God, am I going to actually beat the 5-year mark? I'm 53 years old in a few weeks and never been anywhere as long as that. Good morning, Marilyn. So it is especially fascinating and intriguing to me to live in a place where people like Doug that I just met, watch the replay, can tell me my parents put that window in that house. I've been here all this time. Oh, y'all, I just love stuff like that. Hapeville is definitely full of energy that fulfills that need for a sense of place, and it gives me that. All right, I'm going to continue walking. We're at Lake Drive in Jackson. So Don was saying he used to walk up to this area with his dad to meet the bus. So I'm guessing that it was up here by Henry Hardin's store. Many of you will remember that. I still think of it, and I'll show you the building. Henry Hardin's store was there, and then from what I understand, he built this for his son, or the reverse. Was this, I know this was all the Hardins, and I can never remember if Henry was the father who owned this, and then he built the TV repair place for his son. Henry Hardin, who owned this place, he donated to the Depot Museum a lot of old radios and televisions and electronics that used to be in here, and they still sit in the Depot Museum. Good morning, Bethany. Good morning, Julie. I hear what you're saying, Louise, and I've asked a couple people. I I won't go into details here because I never know quite who's watching and I don't want to be insensitive, but I can't remember where, but I came across an article or a mention somewhere of an untimely end for Henry. And I've asked a couple people if that's true. I'm talking in code. I've experienced that in my family, my father. So I was curious to know if Henry's end was as I had heard reported. So maybe we can talk privately about it because I don't want to be insensitive to his family. David Barnett says Hardin's store, known for penny candy. Well, here we are. Oh, and you know what? I just realized there's still a bus stop there, Don. Is this where you would come? Don, yes, we used to go to the Hardins. The TV guy was his son. That's what I thought right there. Now you can see there's a car there. Every now and then you'll see people come in and out. I actually think that is a dwelling at this point, a personal dwelling. Good morning, Cheryl. I walked by your house yesterday. That sounds creepy. On my walk yesterday. So this was Henry Hardin's store, and I've come up here many times like a weirdo and just stood here staring at it and imagining what it used to be like. But it's going under a little bit of repair right now. I think they put that door back in the side. It's a new door anyway. They painted it. It was leaning out this way, so they put new blocks in there. They put a new window in the front. I ran into a guy who's a contractor, and I stopped here. I don't like to say I'm nosy. I just like to say I'm curious. And I said, what's going on? And he said it's going to be turned into a skate shop because we have a new skate park here in Hapeville down in the park. And the kids are loving the skate park. And when I say skate park, it's when I say skate park, it's what do you call it? Skateboards. Yes, the bus stop was right there. It still is, my friend. This is where you would stand with your dad. I'll be darned. And it was probably the store would be open. Maybe he'd let you go inside and get a penny candy. And then he'd be off to work up Stewart, wouldn't he? So, yeah, that's what I hear. Is this going to be a skate shop? They've cleaned it up considerably inside. The windows are so dirty. There we go. You can see. Now, maybe y'all can answer these questions. I've often wondered the footprint in there. You see that little raised area right there. I'm like, was that originally the store and then he built out from it? Or was that raised up like that because that was the meat area? Or was his counter right there? I love trying to figure stuff out like that, but this is what it looks like now. And there's something special, nostalgic, and sometimes sad about spaces when they're empty. Or they give you a sense of possibility, which this does. I look at this and go, ooh, I could teach my improv classes in here. So anyway, I don't know what they're, what's taken so long, but, and then over here in the other window, you can see, well, there's a reflection, but along this window right here, there's like a seat in the window. Yeah. And I love how it has this round curve that comes off of it. And you can see how it's round right there, but then flat. So it looks like it was filled in. And it makes me wonder if this was open more, like a patio or something. I don't know. Cheryl said Melvin can answer some of those questions. I'll bet he can. He lives right around the corner. If you see this, Melvin. I'm wondering if you're, Don says that was the cooler. I figured it must be, which is why it would have that extra cement there. I was like, it has to be I'm on the other side now. The cooler was there. Okay, so like from that blue pillar to the left to the right, I imagine one of those big glass coolers that had like the meat in it. I see what you're saying. That's so cool. Must have been such a cool experience to come in here. I'm crazy in that I would love to see, like, it would serve no purpose at all because traffic is so fast and people don't stop anymore. But no, I think it would serve a purpose. Imagine if that was a little store again. I think people in the neighborhood would love that. I really do. But whoever ends up in there next, I wish them the best. This has been cleaned up recently. There was a fence there and then lots of stuff in there, but they cleaned it all out. And then, like I said, I think somebody actually lives in there now. Those blinds are always closed. Good morning, Debbie. Debbie Bowman. I met her at her business that she owns, Donahue Lewis. And she would come in and chat with me at the depot, and I was always so thrilled when she came in. Y'all want to talk about a walking ray of sunshine? That's Debbie Bowman. Good morning, Kimmy. And she's beautiful. And she smells good. I think I actually told her that one time when she came in. She's just such a wonderful spirit. Okay, so we're going to keep walking. Where did I walk before? Okay, we met Doug Watts down there. Here's the back of this house that faces Dogwood. And somebody years ago had that garage put on. I should have walked around and showed you the two houses right there. They were recently renovated. They look so much better. So much better. But he's got a big old back lot yet, which makes me think, how long is it going to take before whoever owns all of this realizes they can do that? Now look, that house is cute. It's not done yet. It's not going to be yellow, but so hey Dewey, here's a house. I'd be like, thank you. But other than that, I wouldn't really want to live there because the trend now is no yard. No yard. Well, you know what? They're going to have a little bit of a yard right here. But that's a big old house right on this corner. Stands in stark contrast to the little ones that we still have. Oh, I'll walk over here and show you this little house. I've showed it to you before. I'm walking right. I'm kind of doing a weird circle around here at Jackson and Lake. Permelia behind me came out and was walking her dog. I wanted to say hi, but she went back in. Hi, Debbie. Welcome back. So look at this one. A few months ago, a tree fell on it, and that tree was like, I'm not just going to fall. I'm going to fall on everything. But y'all know that's a part of living in Hapeville. We've got these beautiful trees, but they don't stand forever. And sometimes when they come down with a vengeance. So this is number 551 Lake. And my guess is that this one's just not going to make it. I'm no professional, but that's a lot of damage, right? And I'm thinking somebody's going to tear it down. I showed this house a couple weeks ago, and somebody had a couple memories of being there. But we're looking east on Lake right now. But I'm going to continue down to Jackson. A few minutes ago, I asked Doug Watts if he remembered where Ed Milton lived. I'm pretty sure I know where it is. Those of you who don't remember, Ed Milton was, well, I'm sure many things here in this town, but I know him as the keeper of the history, the head of the Hapeville Historical Society back in the late 80s, early 90s. And he lived down here, but he would spend every day in the Depot Museum. He grew up in Hapeville, 3199. That's where Permelia lives. And she has told me that was her family home. So you hear that a lot. I love her little carport in her car. Look how cute that is, y'all. There's 3199. No, 3191. The other day I was walking by here, and Douglas and I, we would often speculate if there'd ever been houses here. I was like, there had to have been, but there were no aprons like this down there. So we weren't sure, but then somebody assured us when they were watching that there used to be a house here. But Stewart Dogwood is right behind. But it's a nice quiet little spot. I wouldn't mind having a home there. John says invasive English ivy weakens. Then yes, it sure does. And there it's everywhere. I mean, that actually back there, I think, what do y'all call that? Kudzu? And I think there's probably ivy back there. Yeah, English ivy's really pretty, but there's some on that little skinny tree right there. Yeah. Brings down so many beautiful trees. Beverly says Mr. Milton ran the sound system for the services at First Baptist Church. I'll be darned. I'll bet he did. That just he seemed to really be into electronics, because I know he liked to he would often hold events at the Depot Museum and other places on behalf of the Historical Society, from what I understand. And he would show slideshows of Hapeville history. And those slides are still at the Depot. I was cataloging them a few years ago when I first started volunteering there. But this is where he lived, I believe. So I just love to imagine him walking out of his house. And what a cute little house that is. 3170. Getting in his car, driving up that way and going to the Depot Museum. I'm forever thankful for him. Because of him and a wide group of former Hatevillians, we have the Hapeville History book, which got me started on my fascination and research of Hapeville history. If he hadn't done that, I would have had no place to start. Mr. Milton, yep, Dave says, that's right. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go inside the Baptist church. Not a few weeks ago, a few months ago. There was a pastor there. He's no longer there, but we became friends. And I'm not a Christian man myself, but I am a kind person. And so we connected. And he took me on a tour of the church. Side note, I'm at Woodrow and Jackson, and I showcased this a couple weeks ago on the Hapeville channel. This is 3158 A and B, it says. Looks like it's getting renovated. Anyway, I made friends with the pastor, 3187. Never seen anybody there. And he took me into the Baptist church, and so I got to go in there and sit and think about all the people and events and stuff that have happened. And I actually sat up in the balcony of the church all by myself. I had the place all to myself, and I was sitting by the sound equipment, and there were some notes up there, and people hadn't been up there in so long, and it was just amazing. So now to know that that's where Ed Milton sat, it's great. This is number 3185. I love it. I've never seen human beings here. I've made up in my brain that this is somehow connected to this church, which sits quiet most of the time now, as a lot of the churches in Hapeville do. Makes me think that maybe this was their clubhouse or the pastor lived here. Don says, I went to the church right there. It was Stewart Avenue Baptist Church. All right, my friend. Well, we're going to walk around it just for you. There's nobody here, so if anybody does show up, they'll go, who's that weird guy walking around in the parking lot? So there's two buildings here. There's one here, and then the main sanctuary up in the front, and then that little building in the back, attached with a breezeway, which I think is so cool. You could just drive your car in and be protected. I don't know what that was. What was that, Don? Was that where? I don't know. I'll let you tell me. I was guessing that like they kept all the supplies in there to service the place, you know, cleaning supplies. I don't know. I'm totally guessing. My son says, oh, my son's still here, everybody. My favorite son. He's my only son, but his whole life I've always told him he's my favorite, and don't be sure there are not others. He said, I would have never guessed that all these houses are so old. Yes, son, they are. Are they all just really well maintained, or have they all been renovated? It's all very Ship of Theseus. Okay, first of all, my son's way more intelligent than I am, and I'm going to have to now Google Ship of Theseus. To answer your question, or have they all been renovated? This town, what's so fascinating about Hapeville, son, is that it has had a roller coaster history of economic booms and busts. And the town now, Douglas and I moved here right when the town is now experiencing the beginnings of a boom. And so what you're seeing is these houses, including the one that we live in that's 101 years old, these houses, a lot of them were in disrepair for several decades. Hapeville was not doing very well. It was considered a part of town you didn't want to live in, unfortunately. And the decline, I would say, started to happen in the late 70s. The schools, we lost some of the schools in the 80s. And then the 90s, and it was crime-ridden, especially along here. That's why they changed the name. This used to be Stewart Avenue, but I can use as a frame of reference in Orlando. You know how anytime anyone says Orange Blossom Trail, you're like, oh, I know what that means. That's what Stewart Avenue was. It meant nighttime fun. And so back in 96, at least for this stretch of it, Hapeville changed the name to Dogwood, so that it wouldn't resonate when people heard it with, prostitution and drugs and all that. But now, these homes that you're seeing that in the neighborhoods I walk around, they are being renovated right now. And so we're on an uptick. Actually, this lot right here was empty when we got here. There's 3 older homes right there. I'm thinking these 2 may not make it, but they might. They renovated that one, and it's an Airbnb. These 2, they might make it, but now they've cleared out this whole area. There were homes there, decades ago, but then I think there was a car lot there. Now they're going to build townhomes there. You can see these other homes, but since they're on a busy road, they've had fronts added to them and they're turned into businesses and things like that. So now it's called the Greater Mount Pleasant Baptist Church, and my friend Don says that they added that little building in the back. It was events and Sunday school. That's cute. Look, it still has this old rolly gate. This is what you love about the church signs. They like to get clever. Prayer is the best wireless connection. So now, rather than say, have you found Jesus, you can say, do you have good Wi-Fi? The pastor here is James H. Pullen. Here's the entrance, Don. Excuse me. They do this, I think, because ironically, it's a church, but I think they don't like for folks who, without homes, come and camp out here. Not sure I agree with that too much. Craig says also a florist was on the diagonal corner from the church. I think you're talking about right there. I remember seeing that there was a florist there at one point. That's 3145. So y'all called this Stewart Avenue Church, but it looks like the actual name was the Greater Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church, established 1948. Cranford, organizing pastor, relocated February 11th, 1996. Ah, that's right. This church, now of course, the stuff that I'm telling you sometimes comes out of my head, and they're half facts. I don't ever like to say I'm 100% right, but when they say it relocated, I can't remember where it was before this. Oh, no. Okay, wait a second. Let me figure this out. Maybe that means that the folks who started the Greater Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church, they were somewhere else and they came to this building in 96. So it was established in 1948 somewhere else. I don't know that for sure. Don says it looks really close to what it did in the 70s. Yeah, that's the wonderful thing about these old brick establishments, isn't it? There's not much that can change other than adding on to it. Don says it looks real close. Yes. I just repeated myself. My son said it's got a Freemason symbol on it. Spooky. Yeah, is that what that is? Is that a Freemason symbol? Do you know we have a Masonic temple in downtown Hapeville, and I keep saying I'm going to research it because I don't know what the Masons are. I've heard about it my whole life. But I hear that and I just go, oh, a secret club. Don says, yes, that is correct. Oh, thank you. So that was Greater Mount Pleasant. They were founded somewhere else. And then in 96, they obtained this building. That's what that means. Got it. Well, they took the effort to put that cornerstone right in there. I think that's pretty cool. All right, we're now at Oak Drive. And we'll turn this way. Now, just very familiar to many of you, a lot of new infill homes on this side right here. Like that one's within the last couple decades. That one. A lot of homes you remember are gone, but you get a little further down and they survived and were renovated. I'm going to try to get closer because the sun is in our eyes. Here we go. So at least you can see the windows. I've never been inside this church, but it's a beautiful old brick establishment. Someone's paying for the air condition to be running. I don't know how these congregations are keeping these huge churches open now, because the congregations are so small. But here we go. We are over onto the other side of this cool little building that was added to the back. And now I know it was added for events in Sunday school, said Don. So I can imagine lots of little kids coming out this back door. Yay, Jesus. And then they're coming in here. Let's see if I can get close and look inside. It's got, these. I don't think I'm gonna be able to really, nope. I can see in there, and it is a mess, y'all. Holy cow. It's just got lots of wood and broken furniture and a lawnmower, lots of leaves. Holy cow. It's an adorable little building, though. I can see back there, it looks like it would have been 2 classrooms back in the back there by the door. But nope. Oh, there's nothing that gets me inspired more than empty spaces. Goodness, just that little thing right there. If I could get my hands on that, that'd be a cute little theater. Little cabaret theater. That's how I'm always thinking. Thanks for the info, though. I appreciate knowing what that used to be. It's just a cute little building. Don Miller says the original Stewart Avenue Church was on Lake in the 30s. Absolutely correct, Don. As a matter of fact, when I discovered that, that's why that threw me, and I got a little confused when it said 96. I was like, no, they moved this over here decades before that. But you're right, it was on Lake. And the interesting thing was, a friend of mine, her name is Lily, her house is on the little lot where that church used to be. And so I told her, your house, there used to be a church on your house. And it's actually 2 houses behind my house. So that church used to be, I want to say that the original version of this used to be in the middle of the neighborhood, but back in the, well, yeah, it would have been, but it's my neighborhood. But back then there were a lot few houses. So it could be that church on Lake was kind of sitting by itself. But now the spot where it was sitting, it's a full-on neighborhood. This is an interesting area right here. We are at, sorry for spinning so much. This is Oak Drive in Jackson. And then you come down Jackson and you turn right. Now I have a map from 1939, and it shows that when you turned right, it used to be called Burke. Burke. And then when you continue down and go over Old Jonesboro, it turns into, it's Birch. So it always makes me, and now it's just Jackson. The whole thing is Jackson all the way around the curve and down to Old Jonesboro Road. But when I look at that map that says 1939, it was called Burke, it makes me go, did they make a mistake and they heard Burke instead of Birch and they put that on the map? Or was it Burke and then turned into Birch? Or was the whole thing Burke? Sometimes you just have to accept you'll never know why things changed. But I'll walk over in that direction. I'm just going to point this out. I love when I see these. You see these every now and then in town. And sometimes I'll see this and I'll go, oh, that's one of the old street markers. Because there was a time here in Hapeville. Hi, Daria. Richard Brooks says, I always remember that building in the back being a fellowship hall. Yeah, that goes along with what Don was saying, that they had events back there and such. Yep, I could definitely see that being a fellowship hall, and it probably has a little kitchen in there. But there's a few places around town where you'll see these cement markers, and then you can faintly see the name of the street on it. And I love when I come across those. These, however, are different. We've got these all over town. They look very old, and Michael Randman told me what these are, and I forgot. But these are specific to something because they have a V on them. And then they have these little metal markers with a number in it. I forget what the V stands for, but we've got these a few places all over town. If you remember what they are, you can let me know. Good morning. So we're gonna head this way. There's a fellow that lives there. I'll see him out every now and then, but he's not out that often. This beautiful little house was bought by a young couple recently named Tyler, and this is 3131. And again, this little strip right here, that'll probably get bought up and a big house be put on it. But until then, look how beautiful that one is. Tyler, I forget his wife's name, but I see them at the local brewery often. This is 3130 with a nice sign on there. It says, no solicitors, y'all, none. Now this, we're in the back of a house that faces Dogwood / Stewart. My friend Kate and Pete own this house. And I'm not gonna show too much of their backyard. I wish I could. They've done some beautiful stuff, put a pool in. It's a beautiful backyard. And what I love about their house is they can park out front, or they can come back here where it's more quiet and go right in the gate to their property. Now here on the curve at Jackson, the whole 4 years that I've been here, this was all grown up and it was a mess. But someone has come along and they have purchased this house, which they are renting out now. Y'all guess what the rent is. I'm just guessing, if you want to play the game. Guess what the rent is for this house. I'll show it from the front in a minute. And then they also bought this property. And this house is a beautiful little house from the front on Dogwood. You can see it's a brick house and has this beautiful swoop on it, much like the house I saw in Orchard yesterday. And then there's this whole back house, which in Hapeville, you're not allowed to build these anymore, but that's grandfathered in, of course. And they're going to renovate that and live in it while they renovate that one, they said. But they took down this fence and they cleared this all out. Oh, and you can see they have a thing there. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. It's a beautiful fall day here in Hapeville, you guys. So pretty. Look at the trees. I was thinking to tell Douglas today maybe we should drive north to the Ellijay area so we can see all the leaves. We've been up there 3 times in the last few months to go to BJ Reese Apple Farm. We picked apples and then we got hooked on the apple pies that they make. Oh, they're so good. And we would drive the hour and a half. Okay, here it is. It's so cute. Google says that cement post was a marker for a water shutoff valve. Oh, thank you, son. I never Googled that. A water shutoff valve. Okay, that's what the V stands for. I love you, kid. You know it. You know I do. Yeah, so this is number 3117. I think someone is renting it right now. They put it up like a month or 2 ago. I saw the rent and I said, ooh, Douglas, that's like in New York. That's like what we were paying in New York. So I was a little bit shocked. But gosh, it's pretty. And y'all know I love to look at where people have carved into the cement. This one says Dana H, but I can't get the date. I love stuff like that, and there's a lot of it down here in the front. People in Hapeville, they loved wet cement. Let me tell you that. This is number 3115. Again, like I was saying yesterday, it's an American small type house, and then it had the porch, but they closed it in. This one never had the porch on it. Isn't that interesting? And very similar houses over the way. This one's been redone and some dormers added on the top. It's just so pretty. Oh, I was a little bit incorrect now that I'm over here. You go around the curve and it says Jackson, which used to be called Burke in 1939 anyway. Love that house. But then I realized Birch actually is here and goes all the way down to Old Jonesboro and across. That's my friend Anna Lee's house. And this lot was purchased by Brooks and Brett. And Brett just won the city council run, so he'll be in the next term in city council, but they purchased that lot. They haven't built anything there yet. Here's number 3110. 3111. Whenever I walk by here, I always wonder why they have their house number there and there. Just to be sure. It's a beautiful house. These people, for a while, this bus was yellow. They changed it. I don't know what they're going to do with the bus, but it's cool. and it's all the seats are out. So I'm thinking they're going to turn it into, you know, like an RV or a traveling home of some sort. The sun is lovely this morning, and the trees are beautiful. We're going to turn right and go down Birch, and then I'll go Old Jonesboro and back home again. I thought I was just going to walk around the block, but there's 14 of you here, and I thought, well, and it's a pretty day. Oh, crap. Oh, sorry. I just realized, I got to get home. I have to be over in East Point. I do pet sitting, and I just remembered I have a 10 o'clock drop-in appointment over in East Point. I have to take care of these cats. Douglas has to go with me. Oh, thank God I just remembered that, y'all. So now I'm going to have to hustle. All right, we're going down Birch. Carol says that was that was called Raven's Florist. I just got the hiccups because I'm anxious. Excuse me. Okay, I'm all right. Thank God I remembered it now. Now, we're on Birch Street. Here's 411, and I think it's so interesting because I'm thinking that because the paneling matches, this is all this house that faces Grove Circle that we were just walking on. I feel like that's all theirs, and then there's this neat little apartment building out in the back. Do y'all know anybody who ever lived there? It's called 411. This house fooled me. I thought they did a good job with this house because I thought that it was an original Hapeville house, and it's beautiful and quiet back here on this little stretch of Birch. And I saw that house and I thought, wow, they preserved that old house. Y'all, this house was built in the early 2000s at some point. 415, I think it says it is. Yeah, number 415 Birch Street. The 90s or anyway, I know it was recent. And I was like, oh yeah, 415. I was blown away because usually they try to do that and it doesn't fool me. I can look at a house and go, that's a new build, and they're just faking it. This one totally fooled me, y'all. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, I love it. And they hardly get any traffic. Then there's this interesting space here. It's like a cabin. It just seems like a cabin. But it's behind a house that's over on Jackson. See, there's the house on Jackson. Is that the back of Melvin's house? No, he's on Lake. But that's pretty cool. All right. I hope you're all having a good day today. I'm enjoying it so far. So these two over here, they're so unique that my friend who lives out in California, she sent me a picture last week and said, hey, I'm coming out there at the end of December. I'm staying in an Airbnb. Where in town is it? And she sent me a picture of either this house or that house. They're identical, but just reverse. She goes, do you know where this is? And I was like, oh yeah, that's over on Birch. And I knew that just because they're so unique looking, and clearly they were built at the same time. It's hard for me to look at them and tell how old they are. I'd have to look that up. But I think they're adorable as all get out. And this is a nice quiet street to be on for an Airbnb. This is the back of a house that faces Old Jonesboro Road, and I think it's interesting because you can see the original house was up front, and then they added and added and added and added and added. This is the back of it. They still got a nice little corner lot there with beautiful trees. Ooh, I'm glad I didn't forget those cats. Yeah, he's on Oak. Thanks, Cheryl. Richard says, the house on your left as you turned onto Birch Street used to belong to David Sapp. He was a barber at Scott's Barber Shop on North Avenue. Ah, I know exactly where you're talking about. That little house across from where the Quick Pick used to be. Thank you for telling me that. David Sapp, I've heard that family name before. Julie says, that's Clay's house where he grew up. Ooh, which one? Oh, see, now I'm too far back. Which house was where he grew up? Give me the address, Julie. I'm past it now. So Clay grew up here on Birch Street or back on Grove Street? We talking about the one that I said, check out and see what the rent is. This is a nice corner lot here at Birch and Old Jonesboro. I love that my neighbor Julie is watching me walk around the neighborhood that she walks around herself. Julie and Clay live across the street from us, and they've been the best neighbors since we've known them since we moved in. We just adore them. We do. Oh, so one of my friends, I'm not going to give the name because this person said they don't want the information out, but they're thinking about moving back here. This is their hometown, and said, keep your eyes open for houses for sale. Here's another one, 3161 Old Jonesboro is for sale. It's adorable. If you don't mind living on Old Jonesboro Road. It can be quiet here. Julie says, yes, on the corner. He grew up in that house that I was like, is renting for a lot of money right now? That's where he grew up. Really? I'll be darned. Well, somebody just bought it as well as the place behind it. Julie says that their house will be for sale soon. I will tell my friend. 3160. Now we're back over to an area that I've walked before. I can't believe how many people are walking with me. This is neat. There's 17 of us walking together. How cool is that? So the sun is in the way, but you remember I told you before, this lot fascinates me because back in the 40s and 50s, there was a family here named the Bevilles, Bevil, maybe one more L, but I think it was one. Bevel? Anyway, this was their business as well as their home, and it was called Bevil's Bait Farm. So you can see remnants of it because there's a pond down there, and I always imagined that they dug that pond. You never know in Hapeville, it could be natural, but I think they dug that recession in there. And I imagine people coming to their driveway on their way to their weekend fishing trips, getting their bait here, and then off they would go. And that was the Beville family. Their grandson, I think, he reached out to me after I showed this, and he said, yeah, my grandparents started it in the 40s, and I grew up there in the 70s, I think, while his parents ran it. And I said to him, that is fascinating. If you have any pictures, please share them with me, but I haven't heard back. What I love is this has not moved for so long, and there it sits. But this is 3190 Old Jonesboro Road. Used to be Bevil's Bait Farm. Any of you remember that? Beverly says, in a little store where we would buy candy. Really? There was a little store here where they bought candy? Where? Where? Back there in that little shed? Wow. And it makes me wonder, I wonder if the family still owns this. I don't think they do. I always wonder if the people who move into places know the history. A lot of people don't, and I've never understood that. I cannot live in a place unless I know as much as possible about who lived there before. I want to live in a place where I know who lived there before. I know what their passions were. I know what kind of people they were, and I can carry that on in some way while I use the space for my own energy. Don says, yes, Daddy used to get bait there. Dave Barnett says, I wonder where the pond went. I know, me too. I think it just dried up because if they dug it, it wouldn't be naturally fed. Your dad used to get bait there. That's so cool. Beverly says it was a bait shop. Yep. I remember it very well, says Richard Brooks. Craig says, Beville. Thank you for the spelling. Son is named Fulton. Oh, I think he's the one that reached out. I don't know. Graduated in 65. He joined the United States Marine Corps after high school and went to Vietnam. And last I heard lives in Alaska. I think it's his son who reached out to me, Fulton's son. Thank you for that. Doc Morris lived on the right. So there's Beville's house. Did he live here on this corner? His sister, Sarah Kate Harris, I've researched her a bit, and I love the stone house that she built with her husband down there near their original family home. But I learned that Tom Doc Morris was her brother, and you're saying he lived to the right? So he lived in a house that used to be here? Dave says it was full of lily pads. Oh, I wish I could have seen that, y'all. This is Oak Drive going in that direction and coming down the hill. And as a matter of fact, 2 new homes were built up there. Oh boy, it's 9:32. Where am I? I'm not going to go down Oak Drive because then I got to walk up that really steep hill and Papa's tired. Here's 3237. My husband's at home right now going, where is he? We have a cat to take care of. But luckily they're close by in East Point. Gosh, I would love to have seen that pond. This is still along Old Jonesboro Road. This house, number 3243, I've mentioned this one, 3234. A guy named Steve, I've chatted with him a couple times, and I love that when that tree came down, he turned it into a little elf house. So clever. But number 3243, I love how it sits up on this hill like a queen. I'm telling you, on days like this, y'all, oh, it says 3243 and then 3245, which means there's an apartment in there, probably in the basement. Never noticed that before. Days like this, when you walk around Hapeville on beautiful days like this and the sun is shining and the leaves are, in the spring and the fall especially, this town is magical. It really is. I've never lived anywhere like it. I love this house. I don't know that anybody lives there right now, but it's very quiet there. Yeah. We are at now Woodward. Woodward? Am I saying that right? Woodward? Woodrow. I always want to say Woodward. That's the school that's nearby. Woodrow, and look at, you guys, this is all empty land because water drains into there, but my friends Eva and Vic, who live right there, they used to live there when they were in their youth, and then they built a new house there and sold that one. They told me there used to be a house right here, and that their basement used to flood all the time, and that does not surprise me because that is a water, what do you call it, a drainage area. Somebody knocked down the sign. Woodrow and Wheeler. This is a quiet little stretch right back here. As I mentioned before, though, for some reason, people have, well, I know why, because it's not monitored back here. People just drive by in their cars and drop crap out. And I dislike that very much. Luckily, it's not that bad right now, but look, there's a television. But this is neat, this drainage system. You look down in there and it's just made of bricks all the way down. It's just, but that's so old. So I'm sort of rushing now, y'all, because I got to get home, but I love this little stretch. It's just quiet and beautiful. To tell you the truth, I don't know how the city workers, even though Hapeville's only 2.5 square miles, it doesn't seem like we have very many city workers on staff. I don't know how many there are, but no matter how many they are, they work so hard and they keep this place as clean as possible. But there's always something more to do, and I don't know how they do it. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm excellent. How about yourself? Good. So I'm going to continue over to Walnut. This is Lake and Wheeler. That's a little steep for me right now. Oh, there's my neighbor. My neighbor LC. He's a landscaper. That's what he does for a living. So he's got all the bells and whistles. Look at that. He's got all the stuff. He lives directly across the street from me in the house that used to be owned by the Stedmans. Yes, I researched my neighbors. I met Durr Stedman a couple years ago because I had found a piece of his artwork and a photograph, and I was like, that looks like the house across the street from where I live. And it sure as heck was. Got to know Durr, put together an art show for him here in Hapeville. It was smashing. It went so well. He's quite a character, and I haven't seen him since. But that's where that's where my neighbor LC lives. This is my street. Okay, I stopped reading. Let me read these real quick. Beth said, I think that was the Weldon's house, the one with the elf house. Was it? Trying to get my bearings. I know, it can be tough when you've been gone a while. The house Steve lives in was Doc Morris's. Was it? Well, that's cool to know. Chick Stedman lives in Gatlinburg. His sister was Sally. Did Sally pass away? I didn't know her, but I feel like I know her because I know it went Chick, Durr. I might have went the other way. Durr, Chick, Sally. And the pictures that I see of Sally led me to believe that she was born with some challenges. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but just by the pictures I saw her as a child. This house is, I love this house. I just love this house. It's probably going to get another house crammed in next to it, but I love this house. When I moved here, I live in this house here. These two were not here, and this was all an empty lot, but there were remnants of the house that used to be here before. And in one old picture I found showed that the house was at an angle here when it was originally here. But these are brand new. Actually, this lot was purchased by these two people. They're friends, and they came from McDonough, and they shared the lot and each built their own homes. They're beautiful. Here is Julie's house. She was the one that was chatting with me earlier, saying that her husband Clay grew up in that house, that white house, where I was like, guess how much rent it is? This is $498, and my friend Ralph lives there. Good morning. Good morning. I'm good. How you two doing? Doing all right. All right. Yeah, Ralph lives there. I think he's lived there since the 90s. This is where Douglas and I live. We love this house. It's 101 years old. And what I like is it has some land over there. We put the banana trees there. I think there might have, that's our truck, and it pulls up here. And I think there used to be a garage there, but I can't be sure. That was my friend Maria's house. The whole reason we ended up in Hapeville in the first place. There's the old Stedman house. And I'm not gonna walk up there, but there is a cement. You see that cement thing right there? That's one of the old Hapeville street markers. And Durr told me that when they changed over the street markers from those cement pylons to what we have today, his father knew someone in the city and was like, I want one for my yard. And there it still sits, an obelisk. That's what it's called. But I live on a beautiful street. New house on a lot that was never developed in Hapeville history ever until now. It's right on the corner of North Fulton and Walnut. My friend Tamara lives there. I spent some time yesterday helping her decorate the inside of her house because she's got company coming. It's my neighbor Todd, but my friend of, 25 years, Maria, she lived here. And she was the one I called from Manhattan and said, where do you live? I'm going to come visit you. It's 8 degrees here in Manhattan. It's too cold. She said, I live in Hapeville, Georgia. I was like, where? That sounds awful. Who would name a town Hapeville? She laughed. I came to visit. Never left. As a matter of fact, I'll show you. Where I literally lived. It's a long story, y'all, how I ended up here in Hapeville. But you know what? I'll go through. No, Todd won't care. We're close. But in the back of this house at 507, look at this. Y'all, this is where I lived for the first 9 months of my life in Hapeville, and I will always remember it fondly. Isn't it beautiful? I was not mentally well when I got here to Hapeville, and it was a real struggle living in here, but I was blessed because my friend Maria had this to offer to me. I lived here rent-free until my husband Douglas could join me. And I used to, the sun is hard, but I used to come off of here. Once I finally realized I was probably going to be staying in Hapeville and my New York experience was over, I would come out here on a day very much like today. And I'd stand here and I'd look at the backyard of this house. And there was a lady renting it at a time. And I would look at it and just feel drawn. And I would think, I'd like to live there. If she ever left, I would love to live there. And I manifested that because she left. And now Douglas and I live here. I love Look at that. That is a sign of a time where neighbors, they maybe had fences, but not to keep each other out. They had fences. I don't know why they had fences. To hang plants on? But look at that. You don't see that anymore. A fence from one neighbor to the other. And I've gone through that fence to visit my friend Maria. Todd's come through that fence to come visit me. And now, my Hapeville lifestyle, sorry, I just realized I'm getting all personal, but a few of you are still here. So now I sit on my deck in my backyard right here. And I look at that house and my heart soars. There you go, Don, to keep the dogs in. That's why they did it. That's it, just to keep the dogs in, not to keep anybody out. It's exactly why they built that. That's where I lived. And now for the longest time, I would tell people jokingly that we're moving on up in Hapeville, literally 30 feet from where I started. And I love where I live. I just mowed this for the final time yesterday in the fall. So let me see this last thing here. Beth said, yes, Sally had challenges, but she lived a full life. The boys took over her care after her parents died, and they went to our church, Presbyterian. Thank you for telling me that. I always wondered what happened to Sally. All right. Well, that is it for the tour. Oh my God, I forgot again. I got cats to take care of. I've got 15 minutes to get there. My husband has to go with me because, frankly, I'm allergic to cats. So he's the one that has to pick the cat up and hold it. And I just give it its pill. We are a team, my husband and I. It is, Matina. It's so great. And I'm so grateful. Pam Caraway said, and small children. Thanks for being here, Pam. I'm at the end of it because Douglas and I have to run. But I want to thank all of you for taking a walk from this morning. If you're at the end, I hope you'll go back to the beginning and watch, because I have a delightful moment on Jackson Street where I met Doug Watts, who's lived here his whole life. He's 74. I love moments like that. And my son stayed the whole time. Okay, that makes my heart sing. Thank you, son. I don't know how you find this interesting. I never know how anybody who hasn't lived here finds it interesting, but maybe there are other people who are just as crazy as I am and love Hapeville just because. You're very welcome, Dave. You all have, oh, let me show you my porch before I go. This is my favorite place to be. Look. In the winter, I have to do this because the sun comes right in, but I spend lots of time out here. And it's a screened-in porch. What a blessing. All right. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Don. Pam, I appreciate you back. Thank you for contacting me yesterday. I appreciate it. And, all right, I got to go feed some cats. It's a beautiful day. I hope this was a lovely trip down memory lane. Feel free to private message me if you think of anything that you want to share. Create yourself a great day. Bye, guys.